All right, a pleasant afternoon to everyone. Welcome to the fourth WGDP webinar on Women's Economic Empowerment, Streamlining FDA Requirements and Procedures for Processed Food Products. So before we begin, here are the house rules. First, participants other than the speakers and panelists are muted. You may ask questions to the panel via Q&A tab or the chat box. There will be an open forum where your questions will be answered. Lastly, help us improve our webinars by answering our survey. The link will be shared to you at the end of the webinar. Kindly indicate in the survey if you would like to receive a copy of the presentations. And with that, I now turn over the screen to Ms. Jean Ilo, Gender Specialist of UPPAF Respond and our moderator for this afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everyone. As Jazz has already said, welcome to the fourth webinar of the WGDP webinar series on women's economic empowerment. Welcome to our participants from the Philippine Commission on Women, our partners, to all GAD advocates, and to the partners of UPPAF Respond from ARTA. I saw Attorney Jana from ARTA, Commissioners Padron and Albano from the Tariff Commission, and others. And I would like also to welcome our Suki, or repeat webinar attendees. I am Jean Ilio and I will be your moderator this afternoon. For participants who are attending the WGDP for the first time, the series of webinars aims to promote women's economic empowerment. The webinar series is a joint activity of the Regulatory Reform Support Program for National Development, or RESPOND, of the UP Public Administration Research and Extension Services Foundation, or UPPAF, a grantee of the United States Agency for International Development. Okay, and this is in partnership with the Philippine Commission on Women, or PCW, to discuss and hopefully address key concerns of women entrepreneurs and workers during this COVID-19 pandemic. As a USAID grantee, UPPAF Respond has designed a program of activities in support of the Women, Global Development and Prosperity, or WGDP, initiative of the US government. The UPPAF Respond WGDP program focuses on creating an enabling environment for women's empowerment by removing restrictive regulatory barriers through gender-informed and gender-responsive, competitiveness-enhancing regulatory reform initiatives. The enabling environment would also address the other two pillars of the WGDP, which are helping women prosper in the workforce and assisting women succeed as entrepreneurs. At the same time, UPPAF is promoting the twin goals of gender equality and women's empowerment enshrined in the Philippine Magna Carta of Women. Women's economic empowerment is an advocacy that Respond shares with the PCW and the key Women's Economic Empowerment Initiative, the Gender Responsive Economic Transformation, or Great Women Project. 5 webinars were originally planned, 3 this year and 2 next year. However, instead of having just 1 session on ease of doing business, we will instead have 2. Thus, there are tentatively 6 planned as of now for this year, and this is the last for this year, and 2 next year. The first webinar which took place on 28th of August, focused on improving women access to credit. So there were some questions that registrants asked upon registration, and some of these were topics that were discussed in earlier webinars. So the 28th of August webinar focused on improving women access to credit. The second, which took place on the 25th of September, discussed logistics or moving goods. The third, last October 23, tackled making online business or e-commerce work for women MSMEs. The current webinar is the fourth. This was originally scheduled for the 20th of November, but we deemed it best to postpone for a week because of Typhoon Ulysses. The two webinars in early 2021 will cover ease of doing business in registering business, accessing credit, and registering land. That's the first. And the next is alternative work arrangements in the new normal, including working from home or WFH. The 2021 webinars will present the findings of research studies commissioned by UPPAF Respond. Now about this webinar. Uh, this webinar focuses on regulatory requirements on processed food. It aims to contribute to the conversation of minimizing barriers to entry, facilitating access to markets, and supporting growth of micro and small enterprises. As in the October webinar, the present webinar is instructional and informational in approach. There is no main speaker, but instead several introductory presentations by the panelists, followed by a panel discussion around processed food regulations of FDA and an LGU. We have invited Pasig City LGU to join us today. Then the second is how micro and small entrepreneurs make their businesses FDA compliant. And the third is how support to enterprises by DOST partner of the PCW Great Women and private sector consultants help businesses become FDA compliant. To participants who wish to receive a certificate of attendance, here are some reminders. You should have registered in the Zoom event. You are viewing this through Zoom because viewing it through Facebook doesn't qualify you to get a certificate of attendance. Your actual viewing time as measured by Zoom should be at least 1 hour, and that you have submitted the online post-evaluation form. Now let's look at the program. Okay, we have first the introductory part, which will be followed by the welcome remarks by our Chief of Party, Dr. Enrico Basilio. After that will be the panel discussion, which will feature 5 members. One is Dr. Oscar G. Gutierrez Jr. from the FDA. The next will be Mr. Eric Santos Altamero from Pasig City LGU. Then we have an entrepreneur, Maria Isabel Nuestro Punzalan, who co-owns and who owns and is president of Dalfast Food Products Incorporated. Then the last set of members will be from the support group of entrepreneurs. We have Bulacan Provincial Director Angelita Q. Parungaw of DOST, and Gretchen Barredo, who founded Best Start Business Consultancy Services. So we have those five. Now, I would like at this point to introduce very briefly our Chief of Party, Dr. Enrico or Dr. Henry Basilio, who will give the welcome remarks. Henry?
Thank you, Jean, and good afternoon to everyone. Jean Ilo is the gender advisor of the Respond project. No, aside from being the moderator of this afternoon's webinar, and she's the one who's leading our initiative for the Women in Global Development and Prosperity initiative. No? So let me tell you a little bit of what UPPAF and Respond is all about. The project is Respond. It means Regulatory Reform Support Program for National Development. So basically, we do a lot of policy and regulatory reforms and advocacies. The project is being implemented by the University of the Philippines Public Administration Research and Extension Services Foundation, which is the private foundation arm of the UP National College of Public Administration and Governance. The Respond project is being funded and supported by the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID. We're a 5-year project, and we just started last year, so we have 4 more years to go. Next slide, please. The overarching goal of the project is to make the environment for trade and investment more open and competitive. And to do this, we have to enhance market competition. So this is the first objective of the project. To enhance market competition, we need to remove and reduce barriers to market entry. So part of the work that we are doing here is our technical assistance to the Tariff Commission on reducing the non-tariff measures or the trade barriers. No? And our topic for this afternoon is very much related to this effort now, because we are looking at streamlining the FDA requirements and procedures for processed food products. No? So the second sub-objective under the market competition enhancement would be the ease of doing business. No? So this is reducing regulatory burden and transaction costs. No? So here we are basically working closely with the Anti-Red Tape Authority. No? So we are assisting them in crafting the regulatory impact assessment manual, and we are also assisting ARTA in rolling out the re-engineering of business processes at the LGU levels. No? So we are working with 3 LGUs today: the Pasig City, local government, Quezon City, local government, and the City of Manila. Then the second objective of the project is to increase the regulatory quality, no, and capacity, and strengthen the governance, no, especially of our regulatory agencies. No? So here we are trying to strengthen regulatory oversight, and we are also trying to decouple the conflicting functions of many of our regulatory bodies, no, that are vested both with regulatory functions and commercial mandates. No? And then the second sub-objective is to enhance and increase transparency and accountability mechanisms. No? And then the cross-cutting objective of the project is to encourage greater private sector and citizen engagement, especially in policy and regulatory reform advocacies. So given this brief background about the Respond project and about UPPAF, I'd like to again welcome you to this afternoon's webinar. This is our 4th in a series of, right? And so we'll have more of these in the near future. I think, Jean, if I remember correctly, no, so this is our last, no, for this year. Yes, but rest assured that we'll have more webinars in 2021. So with that, I'd like to again welcome all the participants, and also welcome and thank our guest speakers this afternoon. No, so and I hope that we'll have a very productive discussion, productive and fruitful discussion this afternoon. Thank you. And Jean, back to you.
Thank you very much, Henry. I would like at this point to welcome Jay the Kiros from USAID. So glad you could come. I think the invitation came on a very short notice. So welcome. Now, let me set the tone for the panel discussion. So, what is the context of today's webinar? So the question that people keep on asking me is, why are you focusing so much on MSMEs? And why on processed food production? Okay, let me give you some stats. First of all, micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, constitute like 99.5% of the more than 1 million enterprises in the Philippines, and account for 62% of workers employed. This is according to the latest stats from the Philippine Statistical Authority. Now, of the MSMEs, 89% are micro enterprises, mostly in the informal sector. Now, what is the ownership profile of the MSMEs? Of the micro enterprises, 95% are owned by women. Now, so that's that. Then of the small and medium enterprises, 25% are what the Investing in Women group calls Women SMEs, or those enterprises where 51% of ownership is held by a woman or women, or where 20% of ownership is held by a woman or women, or they hold a majority leadership position, or where 30% of the board of directors is composed of women. So it's actually an interesting way of measuring women's participation in corporate leadership outside the micro enterprises where women dominate. Now, why the focus on food and beverages? Because that is where your processed food thing comes in. If you look at establishments with less than 20 employees, so these are the small and most of the micros, you have 60% of them, or 61% in 2015, are manufacturing food and beverages. So that's actually slightly higher than in 2013, where it was 59.6, or just a 1 percentage point difference. Unlike the non-food sector, which was 39.1% in 2015. Compare that to the non-food, to the larger enterprises, where you have 20 and over employees. So in 2015, 75% of them are in non-food, and only 24.8 are in food. So when you want to influence the lives or to improve the lives of entrepreneurs in the manufacturing sector, the women entrepreneurs, then you go uh, to the food sector. Now, now, what is the distribution of MSMEs in trade and food processing? Um, while women dominate the ownership of food processing enterprises, the percentage of women ownership among retail or wholesale trade is much higher. There's also more enterprises in retail or wholesale than food processing. So you have 70% women owning food processing enterprises versus 88% of retail trade. This is just to give you some perspective. While they may be owners of enterprises, we find out that insofar as employment is concerned, much almost like 2/3 of the employees of uh, the large enterprises in the food and beverage subsector are men versus 36% women. If you compare that to to the food and beverages sub-industry with less than 20 employees, we find out that relatively more women are employed than men. So you have to look at the relative percentages. 35% in the large enterprises producing food and beverages, and almost 40% in the smaller ones. Now, again, for more greater perspective, if you look at the sex ratio in the different sub-industries so that we can locate where they are, we found out that women workers are relatively more represented in the processing and preserving of fish, crustaceans, and mollusks, and in the manufacture of other food products. This is so when we compare the sex ratio, which is 0.73 and 0.67, with 0.65 for women for the sex ratio in the workforce. Now to our topic now, this afternoon. So, I was trying to picture it in my head. This is what I've been doing since Typhoon Ulysses. So how do I picture it? So we have the market, which entrepreneurs, men or women, would like to penetrate. If they're producing food products, processed food, then there will be they usually are faced with barriers in the form of food safety regulations. The food safety regulations can come from the national government or imposed by national government, principally by the Food and Drug Administration, and also by LGUs, okay, with their food safety and sanitary regulations. So before they could penetrate the market, a wider market outside the C2C or B2C, especially the informal markets, they have to be able to comply with the regulations, but they have to overcome certain hurdles. Access to information. Do they know what the regulations are all about, or to go about applying for licenses and certifications, etc.? Then how do they? What are the technical requirements for complying with the regulations? And there is the third issue of costs of complying. Now, so to overcome the hurdles, one can think of the FDA or the LGU simplifying its processes and making their processes more accessible to entrepreneurs. Then we have other government institutions that are set up. I'm using the word set up that are there that could assist uh, entrepreneurs comply with the requirements. So we have DOST as either part of the Great Women Project or set up their own uh, regular program, which provides the entrepreneurs access to training, uh, to the CUPIRA, and access to laboratories. And then you have, before May 2020, the CUPIRAs, as well as technical consultants from the private sector. So these are the players that are being represented in today's panel. Now, so I will call on first the what I call the regulators in the panel. So we have Dr. Oscar Gutierrez and Eric Altamero. But we will have Dr. Gutierrez first, or Oscar, who is the officer in charge director of the Policy and Planning Service of the FDA. And before his designation as OIC director in 2019, he was the chief of the Policy Formulation and Program Division. Okay, may I call now on Oscar to make his presentation?
Hello, good afternoon. And I would like to thank the organizers for inviting the FDA and for giving us the opportunity to discuss with you the reforms instituted by the FDA in the last few months to support the ease of doing business law. So may I have the slide, please? We can go to the second slide. To the next slide, I mean. Yes, the outline of my presentation is very straightforward. I will give you the overview of the FDA core functions, then I will go into the national policies of food regulation, and this would include the Food Safety Act of the Philippines and of course the Republic Act 9711, which forms as the basis of the FDA mandate. And I will go into explaining what is the product market authorization, which are issued not only by food safety regulatory agencies like the FDA, but also the LGU. Then zeroing or focusing on the FDA, I will explain our updates and accomplishment to reform and re-engineer the systems of the FDA, and go into the actual performance and accomplishment when we started the complying with the ease of doing business law mandates, that is to reform and re-engineer our systems. Then I will end with the challenges that the FDA is facing. Can we go to the next slide, please? These are all the laws. I mean, these are not updated, but more or less, these are the laws implemented by the FDA, and some of those related to food includes the Food Fortification Act, the ASIN law, salt iodization, among those that are highlighted in blue. So we'll go to the next slide. And as mandated by law, the FDA, mandated by 9711, Republic Act 9711, FDA, in order to regulate or perform its function, that is to ensure the safety, efficacy, and quality of health products, it is mandated by law to issue licenses to establishments engaged in the production of or manufacture, importation, trade, distribution, and even wholesale of processed food products. And for every product, we have to issue a certificate of product registration. For the post-market surveillance, actually, the product certificate of product registration is a pre-market authorization approval issued by the FDA, and the specifications and conditions vested or in the CPR is the basis of the standards. I mean, the specification will be the basis for the post-market surveillance of the product. So next slide, please. So under the law, the Republic Act 9711 and even the 3720 requires all product to be registered because of this provision under the law. And the securing CPR is actually prior to the marketing of the product. So in order to secure the certificate of product registration or the pre-market authorization or pre-market approval, you have to secure a license to operate from the FDA as manufacturer, as trader, as distributor importer, distributor exporter, or distributor wholesaler, as the case may be. So next slide, please. So, but there is, under the Food Safety Act of 2013, it is stated that all facilities engaged in processing of food products are required to secure permit, licenses, and certificate of registration, either from the local government units or the Food Safety Regulatory Agency. So special derogation, it says here, shall be provided due to geographical location after an assessment of risk, especially for MSMEs. FBO stands for Food Business Operators. So next slide, please. Under the IRR, I think this is an important provision that under Rule 28.2, with the mayor's permit issued by the BPLOs, it actually authorizes the FBOs to market their products within their territorial jurisdiction. But if a FBO would like to market their product at the national or international scale or markets, they are required to secure authorization from the FDA. As I have explained, the authorization comes in two forms. First, the license to operate, and second, the certificate of product registration. So it is clear under the Food Safety Act that the LGU is part of the food safety regulatory system. So next slide, please. So consistent with the Food Safety Act, there is also the Code of Sanitation of the Philippines, which has a chapter on food establishment, and it recognizes the jurisdiction of the LGU over all food establishment that process food products, and it recognizes also under the Food Safety Act the sanitary food inspectors of the LGUs. So next slide, please. So I'd like to show to you the total number of registered health products we have in the market. It's around 89,708. Now for the licensed establishment, the total would be 17,461. As Ma'am Jean has presented, these numbers actually, if you go through the list, most of these or majority are in the large scale and medium scale entrepreneur or production. So next slide, please. So because of the ease of doing business law, the FDA submitted a citizens charter. The last time we submitted was as an update was last July this year. And for manufacturers, the old maximum processing time was 57 days, and we submitted a 20 to 35 processing time in terms of number of working days. And we consider this as a transition. And for the distributor, and these are the non-manufacturers, it will be 14 days. Now, how do we plan to, how are we handling this commitment? So next slide, please. So we migrated from a semi-automated system, which you can see the e-portal at .fda.gov.ph, and we piloted a fully automated system. And it will only require 14 working days to issue the license to operate. And the features that we added were as follows. There is no need to email FDA and ask for the login and password in order to access our ELTO portal. Under the e-services, you can directly apply from our website. Then we added pre-assessment. Then the payment of fees are, you can pay through the bank, and we are working on a MOA with the Bayad Center so that you can access also, you can pay your fees in this through this payment scheme. And for the checking and approval, the feature is such that if an application from a checker to approval, it automatically forwards the application to the next evaluator or checker. So everything is automated, including the approval. And finally, the license to operate are emailed by the FDA. We no longer have to mail them individually. So the 14 days starts when the applicant has paid the corresponding fees. So the next slide will show that when we launched this pilot ELTO under the e-services portal, these were the applicants from September 28 to October 12. And this is actually a printout from that system. And as you can see, there were two companies that applied. One is a food eatery and a coffee shop. And if you count the number of days from the application, the average would be 12.9 calendar days. As you know, the ease of doing business law requires a working day reckoning, but this one is in calendar days, 12.9. Because it's fully automated, the evaluator can work from home and even on the weekends and holidays. And the range of the calendar days was 3 to 21 days. So if you remember, our citizens charter for license to operate was 14 working days. So this is 12.9 calendar days. So it can be done as soon as we launch this fully. Because this pilot implementation is limited only to the NCR. Next slide, please. Now for the CPR, we plan to reduce it from 114 days to 20 calendar days for the initial CPR. Actually, the old one, there is also, it can be said that for products that are only for export, we try to issue it within 35 working days or calendar days in the past. But now we intend to issue it within 20 working days. So the next slide will show how we will do it. Again, we launched the ECPR version 2. Next slide, please. Because in the left side, the current is actually a CPR version 1. Okay, but we have a ECPR version 2. So the difference is in the version 2, it is again fully automated, unlike in the version 1. Again, the feature includes the LTO will no longer be mailed, but emailed to the applicant. Then in order to log in, they do not have to request for a password or a login name. Then there is a pre-assessment. The 20 working days starts upon payment of the corresponding fees after the pre-assessment approval has been granted to the applicant. Again, from evaluation, checking, approval, it is 20 working days. Our system would automatically forward the application. If, for example, the evaluator has not acted upon it on 3 to 5 days, it automatically goes to the supervisor. Then again, if it is not acted, it goes automatically to the higher officials for approval. So in this way, we are able to manage and monitor and institute corrective actions along the way. As you know, we only have 37 plantilla positions in the CFRR. We have 7 vacant positions, and we hired 27 job orders or contract of service employees. So this fully automated online system version 2 for ECPR will be very helpful, but we have to gather more data and experience during the pilot implementation. So next slide, please. For the CFRR, for the third quarter of 2020, for the license to operate, we received 4,332. We were able to process 4,304. And at that time, we have a pending application, but within the timeline of 109 for the CPR, 28,750 applications were received. We were able to process 40,621, meaning we were able to, our zero backlog program is in effect. So that means we were able to manage the backlogs that we had in the past, and with only a pending application within timeline of 535. Only because considering the large backlog that we had in the past, we were able to manage it. And there are other more permits that were received and issued, and this could include maybe the HACCP, export clearance, among others. So total applications received for authorization was 35,249 as of the third quarter of 2020. Next slide, please. Now, for the challenges, of course, we have to be fully compliant. What we are actually discussing is only the streamlining of process and re-engineering of system and adoption of ICT, fully automated for licensing, registration, certification, and permitting system. That we are trying to do, but at the same time, we are working closely with ARTA and DAP so that we can institute also regulatory impact assessment at the FDA. And right now, we are also gathering all our laws and issuances, and we'll review them within the year or early early quarter of 2021 so that we can repeal issuances that are outdated and redundant. And of course, we also mentioned, I have a next slide on the simple, highly technical, and yes, and thank you, complex processing time. So for the CFRR, FDA for 2019, before the or right after the IR, we managed to audit our system. It was only 57% compliant in 2019 by the end of 2019, but by this year, we are already 80% compliant with the maximum prescribed processing time, that is the MPPT. Or by 2021, we would like to, as we go fully automated, it will be 90%. That is our target, and by early 2022, we project that we can hit 100%. So actually, the FDA has 104 systems that we have to manage. Next slide, please. So this is our plan for those. We have a pilot for the challenge actually for the LTO. We have to have two systems, one for non-manufacturers, which we have already launched for all these centers. Actually, for the cosmetic center, it has been there since 2017. Then for this year, we have a pilot run for CFRR, CDRR, and CDRHR. Now, for the manufacturers, it will be piloted and launched soon. We are in the final stage of review. We have already consulted all 4 centers, but we are now consulting with the field inspectors all over the country. We have 5 clusters all over the country, and we already held 1 consultation, but we need another one. Now for the e-portal version 2, it's still in pilot run, but we will, once we gather the data, maybe we can make some adjustment and launch it fully. And below, you will see that by the end of 2021 or early 2022, FDA will be fully automated. So next slide, please. Another challenge will be the number of applications we receive. What I'm showing you is the historical data on the number of applications that the FDA is receiving. So from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and as of 2020, third quarter, we already received 4,332 LTO. The highest was in 2018. The lowest is 2017, 1,008. But as you know, in 2017, we launched the e-portal. So this number may reflect only the manual applications that we received. So CFRR was able to report only 1,000, but actually it is more. So for the CPR for this year, we're already at 28,750. For other permits, to 2,167. So before the end of the year, we will have around 40,000 applications, I guess. Next slide, please. And for another challenge is we would like to be globally integrated also. So we are working closely with DTI, ARTA, so that the FDA can integrate its system with the Central Business Portal, the Anti-Red Tape Electronic Management Information System, and the Philippine Business Regulations Information System. This is part of our mandate for global economic integration also. So that would be our last slide and next slide. So thank you so much, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, specific questions later. Thank you.
Miss Jean, ma'am, nakamute po kayo.
Yes, yes. Uh, we now we'll be hearing now from Eric Santos Altamero, who is a sanitary inspector in LGU Pasig City, where he also serves as the city's food safety compliance officer. Eric? Eric, will you please put it on? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. Naririnig po ba ako ng ayos?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good afternoon po. Ako po si Eric Altamero, Food Safety Compliance Officer and a Sanitary Inspector ng Pasig City. Well, sa Pasig City kasi, before opening of businesses, hihingi sila ng mga tips kung ano yung mga regulatories, ano yung mga checklist na hinahanap namin sa isang food manufacturer. I'm giving you some food safety tips. Excuse me. Some food safety tips para sa hindi naman mahirapan sa inspection. So, food safety does not happen by accident. To prepare safe food, you must follow certain steps and procedure throughout the entire food preparation. You have to think and you have to pay attention to how you prepare food to make sure it is safe. You do this by developing a food safety plan. A good safety plan will make sure that anything that might someone seeks is under control. All food businesses shall designate a food safety compliance officer. That is from the Republic Act 10611, the Food Safety Act of the Philippines. An FSEO who has passed the prescribed training course or recognized by DOH and FDA. He or she will be in charge developing a HACCP program for food safety. A basic food safety plan uses the HACCP method. A HACCP stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. HACCP was originally developed by NASA to make sure that food on their space flight was safe to eat. Well, for the food law, let's start food safety from the receiving. Food safety tip for receiving before you order or purchase from supplier or from a supplier, you must develop a supplier accreditation program requiring your supplier a legal document, business permit, sanitary permit. Then you can ask them if they have an FSCO. Then you can also visit their warehouse. There's an important element in receiving. Never assume that all food you receive is good enough to eat. Schedule your deliveries. Have all appropriate equipment and containers on hand. Record the temperature of the delivery truck, refrigerated and freezer storage. If the temperature is not within the acceptable range, do not accept the shipment. It means that a frozen product falls below the 5 degrees Celsius, that is good. But if it over 5 degrees Celsius, pwede mo siyang hindi tanggapin sa receiving. In food safety kasi, there's we call the danger zone, temperature danger zone, which is 5 degrees Celsius and 60 degrees Celsius. between that temperature, doon nagde-develop yung mga bakterya. So dapat hindi natin pinagtatagal ang mga pagkain for 2 hours doon sa loob ng danger zone. Well, sa mga dry foods naman, syempre sa storing, dapat lagi natin chinecheck ang mga temperature, nire-record. And then there's some tips also. The area should be dry, cool to prevent spoilage and swelling of canned goods. The storeroom should be easy to keep clean and free from rodent. Importante po yung pest control at saka yung abatement program ng mga food processing. The best arrangement is to have shelves situated in the middle para pag meron kang tinanggap, mailalagay mo sa unahan, then pag pull out naman, yun nasa likod ang kukunin. That is the first in, first out method. Food supply storage area should be kept under lock and key to prevent pilferages food. Storage control is an important step in overall control of food costs. Excuse me. Refrigerated products, the refrigerator, whether walk-in or standard upright, is an important component in planning the storage of food item. Kept food at 4 degrees Celsius below. That's the safe temperature for refrigerated storage. Here are some considerations to ensure that refrigerator does not break down and risk spoiling food. Monitor the temperature of refrigerator daily. Clean refrigerator regularly. Shelves should not be shallow, well vented to make such cleaning. Inside the refrigerator, syempre, lagi nating tatandaan yung first in, first out. And then, lagi nating checkin yung expiration date at saka yung shelf lives ng ating mga produkto na nilalagay sa ating refrigerator. As a golden rule, frozen food must be kept cold and hot food should be kept hot. Fruits and vegetables that are received frozen will kept for months if they are properly wrapped. That's a one tip in refrigeration. Fish and meat properly wrapped also have relatively long freeze shelf life. Freezing fresh fruit and vegetable on the premises is time-consuming and may be too expensive to consider. Fresh fruit must be properly prepared for freezing or it will not be stored well. Rotating stock is extremely important with frozen food. So, doon natin yung first in, first out palagi. I-apply natin. Sa preparation area naman, well, SOP na sa atin yon, hand wash basin, washing of hand, then the hairnet and the apron zone. We also use the color-coded knife for chopping board. We don't use the knife for meat. Gagamitin natin sa vegetable. Raw food must not be kept at temperature danger zone for more than 2 hours. So inuulit ko po, yung temperature danger zone is between 5 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. In cooking area, A hand wash basin must be installed at the entrance. Washing of hand before and after working in the cooking area. It must be a hairnet and apron zone also. Cooking pans and oven must be clean and sanitized at all times. Use food thermometer to check for internal cooking temperature of foods. And as a food safety tip, always log what you do. For washing area, use 3-sink flow for washing and sanitizing. Always use the hot water sanitizer. Store cooking pan and other equipment in dry cabinet free from insect. Remember, food safety starts with you. No safety program is effective without the knowledge and participation of all. Well, in Pasig City, this is our sanitary permit to operate. Bago kami mag-issue ng sanitary permit to operate, well, kung mag-a-apply pa lang ng new business, so dadaan muna sila sa zoning. Pag na-aproba ng zoning namin, kung pwede kang magtayo ng food production doon, saka ka lang magpupunta ng BPLO. Then, mag-apply ka sa BPLO. Ang issuean kasi ng sanitary permit sa amin is after 90 days. So may inspection, we are giving businesses to comply. Ito yung mga kasi, minimum sanitary requirements. So yung number 1 yung pest control. Yung annual vermin abatement plan o yung pest control contract with accredited pest control operator. Then pangalawa, yung importante sa mga food establishment, yung water analysis. Then ito mga ito kasi yung overall lahat ng MSR namin. So sa food establishment lang, applicable lang dito yung meat inspection certificate, National Meat Inspection Service Certificate. Then hinahanap din namin para sa mga yung FDA license o ELTO. Then as part of the RA 10611, yung Food Safety Compliance Officer. Ito yung mga requirements namin sa yung health certificate before issuance ng sanitary permit din. For food establishment, we are requiring chest x-ray, drug test, urine and stool, if pregnant, sputum examination. Then the copy of business permit kung pinagbayaran nila. For Pasig City, hindi na po namin ginagamit kasi yung checklist ng PD 856. Kasi yung PD 856 is promulgated on 1975. So 1975, malayo na po yung development. At saka yung mga napag-aralan natin regarding sa food safety, we develop a checklist for food establishment. So ito na po yung mga generally it applies to all food establishment, whether you are in restaurant or food processing. Ang pagkakaiba lang po, kung hindi na ma-applicable, nilalagyan lang namin po ng not applicable doon sa checklist. So number 1 requirements po, yung sanitary permit. Siya nga pala po, this risk inspection. Ang pagkakaiba po nito doon sa dati ng PD 856, ang PD 856 po kasi ay more on demerit inspection. So, ini-inspect noon dati yung mga mali. Then, binibigyan sila ng 7 working days to correct. Dito naman po sa amin kasi inaalam namin yung risk level ng ating mga pagkain. Yung kung meron ba siyang hazard, biological, chemical, or physical, chine-check na po namin. So, para hindi po magkaroon ng contamination ang pagkain or food safety, risk level na po ang ginagamit namin. At dito rin po, na-check namin kung how often we inspect an establishment sa loob po ng isang taon. So, ito po yung 5 major features na pag bumaksak ka po sa isa, wala ka pong, nagkaroon ka ng grade na 5, ang scoring po kasi is 1 to 5. Pag mataas po yung risk level mo, 5 yung score mo, so baksak po yun, ititigil po namin yung inspection, ipakokorek po muna namin. So number 1 po yung sanitary permit. Then susunod yung health certificate. Kahit sa PDA 56 po, ang susunod na chapter na nauna yung water supply. So we are checking the potability of the drinking water at saka po yung mga ice maker nila. Then pang-apat po yung vermin control. Kung tayo naman po ay pupunta sa mga restaurant at makikita natin, kahit nasabihin po natin 5-star yung restaurant, class A, tapos may makikita tayong mga ipis, sa amin po baksak na po agad yun. Ititigil po namin yung inspection, papakorek po muna namin. Then yung toilet provision po. Kahit anong ganda po ng establishment, kung mapanghinamang po yung toilet, hindi rin po natin ipapatronize or hindi natin papasukin. Then sa mga food processing naman po, yung toilet provision, may certain number po. So applicable po itong 5 to kahit 10 classification ng food establishment. Then pag nakapasa po sa 5 major features, hinahanap na po namin yung liquid waste management nila. Kung meron po silang grease trap, mine-maintain po ba? Then sa mga manufacturer, yung STP. Hinahanap po namin yan. Then comes the solid waste management, the trash bin and the waste segregation. Then we're checking the construction and maintenance of premises. Cleaning of utensil. Importante po yun. And then for the food protection, ulitin po, under RA 10611, Food Safety Act, hinahanapan na po namin sila ng FSCO. Then the personal health and hygiene. Personal protective equipment like apron, hairnet, and then yung HACCP implementation nila. Kine-check na rin po namin yun kasi for, sa evaluation po ng isang establishment for Food Safety Act, kung makikita po namin yung HACCP nila, ma-check na po namin yung process nila. Then sa flow food po, tulad ng binigay kong tip kanina, food safety start from the receiving. So, kailangan may supplier accreditation.
I think you have 1 minute to go.
Yes po. Then sa storage, ganun din po, katulad ng binigay kong tip kanina, cooking, hot holding temperature lugs, cold holding temperature lugs. Sa serving naman po, no bare hand policy and serving tray. Ito po, isa pang importante yung food allergen management. Kasi yung food allergy po, consider as food poisoning na rin po. Then ito po yung frequency of inspection pag nag-pull ka po rito sa mga score nito. Yun lang po at maraming salamat.
Thank you, Eric. Now we shall proceed to Isabel, Maria Isabel Nuestro Punzalan, an information technology graduate. Isabel is the president and co-owner of Belfast Food Products Incorporated, an enterprise based in Alfonso, Cavite, that manufactures a range of food products, the best-selling of which is the 12-in-1 herbal ginger turmeric powder drink. Okay, she holds an FDA CPR for 9 food products. Okay, may I call on Isabel now?
Yes, hello, good afternoon to everybody. So, yun po, I'm Maria Isabel Punsalan from Delphas Food Products. So, ma'am, for the presentation po. Okay, so we've been in the business na po for 15 years. This is originally established by my mother po, si Adelfa Nuestro. So, as you can see, siya po yan yung nasa logo po namin. So, retire na po siya sa ngayon. Yun po. So, I'm the child of the owner. And currently, kaming siblings po ang nagmamanage ng business. So, next page po. So, brief history lang po namin. So, we started 2005 as single proprietor. So, this is a family backyard business lang po ito nag-start. And by then, ako po ay nasa Manila. So, ako po ay dumating dito sa business namin ng 2012. And during that time din po, 2012, we were given na asistehan po kami ng DOST as set-up beneficiary. So napakalaking tulong po nito. Ito po yung pautang na walang interest sa mga MSME. And we are on second set-up na po sa ngayon na medyo malaki-laki pong halaga. And yun po, as beneficiary din po kami ni DTI for the shared service facility. And we were certified FDA 2016. And that time din po kami nagpa-corporation. So through DTI din po, si Delphas ay napadala na rin sa iba-ibang country as delegate representing business sector for different activities. And last year din po, nagpa-halal certified din po kami. So next slide po. And ito po yung mga iba-ibang produkto namin. So we started with ginger brew or salabat. So ang knowledge po nito or yung technical know-how ay galing po sa aking lola who's based in Masbate na medyo kilala po dun sa mga maanghang and sa mga process na mga ito pong mga gantong klaseng pagkain. So she used to be matagal na nagsilbi po as barangay captain. So when it comes to livelihood, mga programs, marami siyang alam. So early 2000, na i-transfer sa mother ko. Si mother ko naman po yung start official nung business. So aside from this, so nag-evolve po kami yung mix ng ginger and turmeric. So ito nga po yung bestseller. And since si mother, na founder namin ay likas na masipag, so madami po kaming mga agri products na produce here in Alfonso, Cavite. So aside from ito pong mga produktong ito, tableya, kape, atsara, coco jam, yan po yung iba po naming on the side na ginagawa. So next please. So I'm proud to introduce po, this is our best-selling product. So I can say na whatever we have right now is because of this product. So medyo ang target market po nito ay yung mga senior, medyo may mga something na iniinda sa katawan at talaga pong true taste, sila po talaga yung medyo nakakagusto dito sa produktong ito. So, this product po, within the Philippines and nag-export na rin po kami sa ilang country sa ngayon. So, ito po, during this pandemic ay mas lumakas pa po kami. So, when I started here in Delphas, so since nakita ko yung potential ng product, so talaga pong pinurswigi ko with my mom yung comply ng mga certification so that we can later on send our product abroad. So yun po, since may potential yung product. And also, aside from the basic NutriFacts that we have for this product, we also have this tested for complete micronutrients. So kung ano yung exact nutrients na after the finish, so we have that. And yun nga po, we found out na ito ay napakataas sa vitamin B3. So, which is, ano po siya, anti-inflammatory. So, yun ngang feedback, overwhelming respond ni customers when it comes to pain management. So, ito yung parang tingin ko, explain why it helps yung mga arthritis, simple arthritis, uric, and a lot more. Next, please. So yon. So gusto ko rin lang pong i-share yung talaga pong naging real experience ng Delphas in preparation and in application po with FDA. So nung dumating po ako ng 2012, so we have like mga 8 employees, and since may potential din po talaga yung negosyo, so compare kay mother, medyo po may edad-edad na, so challenge na po siya mentally. I mean, makakalimutin. So kami po during that time, so yung tandem namin, since ako ay physically active pa, mentally active pa, so from then on, lumaki po yung company. So medyo natutukan yung distribution, yung pagkuha ng client, pagmamarket. So unti-unti pong lumaki yung business. And during that time, since nakikita ko po na talagang kailangan na mag-comply and magkaroon ng FDA, and since sabi ko nga, may potential yung product. So, pinilit po talaga namin. So, we started nung hindi pa po online yung pagsasubmit ng FDA, mga late 2014 po, I personally tried to submit and comply with yung mga documents and all. Pero way back then, since hindi po medyo limited talaga yung details or access to information, talagang napakahirap, especially to someone like me na hindi naman into food. So way back then, we tried din na mag-submit manually, pero I failed. So good thing po, na-meet ko si Gretchen, yung atin pong later na speaker. Then, yun po. So, tinulungan niya po ako when it comes to preparation ng mga manuals and all. Pati officer. So, para po doon sa in place namin sa operation, yung lahat ng procedures ay properly implemented and followed. So sa ngayon po, ito na po yung mga licenses and permits na in-apply po namin kay FDA. So we have ELTO, CFRR, GMP. We're also have license as trader, distributor, exporter, importer, repacker, tolling. So ito po, though hindi naman po lahat namin ginagawa, ito po ini-apply po namin with FDA just to make sure na if in case kailanganin po namin, let's say in the future, ay magagamit po namin and we can easily deal with mga clients and buyers. So yun po. Next po. And so far po, ito po yung aming mga products with CPR. So, Miss Jeannie, yung inask mo po sa akin, yung how soon, yung kanilang time frame in processing. So, opo, with the LTO po, way back 2016, siguro po during that time, mga around 4 to 5 months yung release po nung aming papers or nung certification, LTO approval. Though online na rin po noon, kaya lang medyo na-delay ng onte because nagkaroon ng late or may inayos sa, ang tawag dito po, dun sa parang may missing document. So medyo na-delay onte. But afterwards po, pero during that time, 5 months po, release na yung aming from online submission. And then, in-apply po kasi namin ito noon ay February 2016. And then, na-release po ito ng July. Na-approve po kami ng July. After a month, na-receive na po namin yung actual paper. In comparison po, moving forward sa mga sinasubmit po namin sa ngayon, especially for this year 2020, faster po. So ngayon po, mga 2 to 3 months, ito pong si CPR, ay siguro po 2 to 3 months from online payment. And then yung iba naman po, after naman na ikaw ay for the CPR, for the LTO, after mo ma-approve, so that's 2 years, and then after that, renewal. So mas madali na po pag meron ikaw naumpisahan, renew na lang po, mas easier. So yun po. So again po, this time 2 to 3 months, okay na po yung mga papers na kailangan for the CPR. So you just need to comply yung mga documentation and all na hinihingi po ni FDA. And then madali din po kasi you can monitor what's happening or status ng iyong papel. So napakadali po talaga sa ngayon. So next po. Ayan. So I was asked po to give reasons kung bakit po kami nag-apply for FDA. So first po is yun nga, this is after several mga seminars na nag-undergo po kami under DTI, DOST, talaga pong napupukpok po sa amin kung ano yung obligation namin as food processor, what's the consequences we might be facing pag kami ay hindi nag-comply kay FDA. So medyo nakakatakot, scary po talaga yung possible na magiging yung consequences na pwede naming makaharap, magiging liable kami if something happens with the food, with the people na mag-consume ng produkto namin. So yun po yung first. So para po safe, so syempre ito ay according sa batas na kailangan ikaw ay FDA approved pag ikaw ay magbebenta ng produkto or maggagawa. And then second, since malaki po yung ini-envision namin for our product, so we want to reach export and the global. So ito po, syempre, kailangan po natin ay maging FDA ready. So yan po yung second. And then third po is yung credibility mo. And ako po kasi personally, when I started at Delphas, kulang na lang po ay yung maging cook ako. Pero lahat po ay naikutan ko ng area. Selling, production, collection. Pero ang pinaka medyo pong challenging para sa akin ay yung sa selling when you're facing clients. So dito po kasi I experience na questionin yung iyong produkto or parang i-insult yung iyong produkto since wala kang FDA. Even gaano yan kasarap or you know for yourself kung gaano yan kalinis, if you meet people na medyo high-end, medyo elite, medyo alam kung ano yung mga safety protocols ng food processor, talaga pong halos kainin ako ng lupa pag nasasabi kong wala kaming FDA pa. So yun po yung talagang pinanghugutan din po namin and ako personally since ako na yung nagma-manage ng business by then, so talaga pong sinikap namin na mag-comply with or mag-comply with the FDA requirements, mag-submit ng ganyan para po talagang maiipakita mo sa buyer na you're legit and you're complying with the food safety po, with the standards. Pero when it comes to difficulties, I have enlisted here few. So way back then po, since manual yung application pa nung ako po'y dumating, so talaga pong and alien. I'm alienated kung paano siya sisimulan. So by then talagang wala po akong makuhanan kung saan at paano ko siya sisimulan. So napakahirap po talaga. So but through the help of yun nga yung consultant, yun nag-guide niya po ako. All I needed to do talaga lang po sundin yung mga advices niya, kailangan ayusin and all, mga test, ayun. And then, before the consultant po, dumating din po yung assistance ni DOST sa amin nagbigay po sila ng consultant din po na libre. So, meron din po kaming MOA noon. Kasi I remember si Sir Madrigal, DOST director po ng 4A. So, yun po, salamat po din sa kanya kasi kliyente din po namin siya, suki rin po siya namin ng produkto namin ng ginger turmeric. So, ayun po, na inasistihan niya po talaga kami na maka-avail for that particular free service coming from DOST. Kanya nga lamang po ay kumbaga malaki rin yung aking part doon when it comes to yung mga paggagawa ng papers. So, iga-guide po nila kami how, pero ako po yung gagawa. So, challenge po yun sa akin kasi syempre po kulang nga rin po kami ng tao and at the same time, limited yung aking knowledge on this kind of work. Kaya po, medyo nag-struggle din po ako. So, God is good. So, si Gretchen po ay talagang angel na dumating po sa amin. So, since then po, nag-usap po kami na kukunin ko po siya na consultant na makatulong po sa amin when it comes to application of FDA for the LTO. And good enough naman po, after ko sundin po lahat ng advice niya, ay first take po ay pasado naman, no findings and approve po agad. So, yun nga lang din po, syempre, medyo expensive po siya kasi for someone like us na micro during that time, so challenge po talaga yung pagre-renovate ng facility, yung pag-micro test, lahat, ang dami po kasing mga test na gagawin. So, kailangan po talagang mag-invest. And yun nga po, ang nilagay ko nga dito, never ending cost but worth investing for naman po yung mga naging gastos namin. Ayun po. So, next please. So, market po namin sa ngayon, yan, local po within the Philippines and we export na rin po. Available din po yung aming produkto sa ngayon po since pandemic, so more on online. Yan, Amazon, eBay, Canada. Ito po indirect and direct. So within the Philippines ay nag-ship po kami ng aming produkto. Next please. Ayan. So yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat. Para mo na ring inintroduce yung susunod na dalawang yung next set of panelists, no? Okay, so galing tayo sa regulators, pumunta tayo sa isang example ng isang MSME na nag-graduate galing micro, naging small na. Tama Isabel? Tapos, pupunta na tayo sa mga tumutulong sa mga entrepreneurs na maging compliant sa mga food safety regulations. Tatawagin ko muna, kasi nagtagalog na ako rin. Tatawagin ko muna ay si Angie Parungaw. Now, there's a short story behind this. When I asked the PCW Great Women PMO, specifically Georgie Climaco, who to involve in the webinar among its regional DOST partners, the immediate answer was Angie. Okay, kaya ikaw yung isinalang. Angie is the Provincial Science and Technology Director of DOST Bulacan Province. She is also the DOST focal person for the region for the PCW Great Women Project Phase 2. She has been with DOST Bulacan for 30 years, and she holds a degree in MS in Nutrition and Dietetics from the PWU. Angie?
Thank you so much po, Ma'am Jean. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Maraming salamat po to PCW for inviting DOST to share our good practices on how to assist the WMEs, lalong-lalo na po yung mga beneficiaries natin under the Great Women. So I now share our presentation. Okay. The Central Luzon Food Safety Team was organized in 2017 na kung saan Ito po ay may 23 members na DOST employees din po coming from the provincial offices and regional offices. Marami po, iba-iba po yan, iba-ibang courses nila. Kumbaga nagsanib pwersa kami para matulungan po namin yung mga WMEs na umihingi ng tulong sa DOST. I can't remember kung kailan po kami nagsimulang magbigay ng GMP seminar. Siguro po for the past 20 years, nagkoconduct kami ng GMP seminar sa mga WMEs natin, which were organized by the Department of Trade and Industry, by the provincial government, DAR, and other private individual po na gustong mag-attend ng GMP seminars namin. But we observe po na after nilang mag-attend ng GMP seminar, may mga tanong po sila, gusto nilang ma-legalize, gusto nilang mag-apply ng FDA. Noong una po, takot na takot talaga sila pag po sinabing BIFAD pa po nung araw takot na takot sila pag banggitin po yung BIFAD nung araw. Ang sabi po nila, mahirap i-comply. So nag-challenge din po kami kasi napupunta po sa DOST yung burden. Kasi kumbaga kami po yung nagbukas ng pintuan, ng bintana, para ma-assist sila. But then, they are incapable kung ano po yung dapat nilang, hindi po nila alam kung ano yung dapat nilang gawin on how to comply with the government regulation, lalo na nga po sa FDA. So, ito po yung aming team, which was formally organized in 2017. And ito po yung tulong na ginawa namin on how to assist our WMEs. We attended trainings on food safety management and quality documentation na kung saan kami po mismo ang nag-attend ng mga ride shops na to through the help of the Tarlac State University consultants. So nagbayad po ang DOST, nag-invest po ang DOST Region 3 sa amin para papag-aralin, mapaaral namin ang lahat ng ito para yun po ang itutulong namin sa mga WMEs namin in Region 3. And these are documentation po, preparation of manuals for the GMP policy, sanitation, SOP, PSOP, and QSOP. Ang lahat po na to ay mga documentary requirements ni FDA, lalong-lalo na po doon sa kanilang CFRR. So, bukod po sa pagtulong namin sa kanila on the LTO, nag-level up na po kami. Tumutulong na po kami on CFRR. Aside from the documentation or manual preparation, we also assist our WMEs in plant layout, construction and design, yung pong mga requirements ni FDA on grounds, on facilities. So, ina-assist po namin sila, ano ba yung hinahanap ni FDA sa planta. So, meron naman pong listahan yan. So, kami po, ang sinasabi nila namin sa kanila, we will guide you, we will recommend, but we will not impose. Yun po ang sinasabi namin sa kanila, hintayin natin si FDA. FDA has the final say. Huwag po muna kayong magpatanggal ng kung ano-anong facilities nyo, huwag nyo ipabagbag muna. Just in case na kung mahabol pa po namin during the planning stage pa lang ng planta, na kami ngayon po yun ang aming ina-advise na bago pa po itayo yung planta nila na maliit or malaki, basta po humingi ng tulong sa amin sa DOST, ay na-assist po namin sila. For the GMP policy documentation, yung manual, yung pong mga client namin, ang hinihiling namin na sumulat. Kasama po dyan under GMP policy is the organizational structure, yung job description ng mga tao nila, yung personal hygiene and sanitation program nila, mga polisiya po sa pagtanggap ng bisita sa kanilang mga planta. Dapat po nasusulat yan. Yung mga training na dapat i-attend ng kanilang mga personnel, yung pest control policy, pati po yung sa waste management program nila, dapat po in place yan, dapat nasusulat. meron din po kasama dyan yung hard plastic and glass policy. And for the SSOP, ang kasama pong mga modules dyan ay 6. The cleaning and sanitation policy, sila po ang gagawa ng polisiya kung paano yung gagawin nilang paglilinis. Cleaning and sanitation program, gaano sila kadalas maglinis, sinong gagawa ng paglilinis, anong gagamitin sa paglilinis. Cleaning and sanitation procedures, chemical and sanitation preparation guide. Tuturuan po namin sila yung formulation on pag-sanitize, pag-disinfect. Kasama din po dyan yung equipment calibration maintenance program as well as the water safety monitoring. Nasabi po kanina ni Sir Eric doon sa Pasig na nire-require po sila ng water test analysis. Ganun din po, we are encouraging our WMEs to conduct at least twice a year, semi-annual po na water test para po masigurado nila sila rin po maging ma-assured na yung water na ginagamit po nila sa kanilang planta ay safe gamitin. Lalong-lalo na po kung ito ay ginagamit sa produktong ginagawa nila. And also under the PSOP, we have 5 modules. Ito po yung process description, yung kanilang paggawa. Paano po yung paggawa ng produkto? Dapat nasusulat po. Kasi ang nagiging problema po, ang complaint nila, sabi ng owner, kapag wala na ako, hindi na nila masundan. Kailangan nasa planta ako dahil ako ang gagawa, akong magtitipla. So tali po, lalo na yung mga women entrepreneurs natin, hindi na nila ma-enjoy yung buhay nila kasi lagi na po sila doon sa planta, hindi na po sila makaalis, hindi na nila ma-enjoy, hindi na po sila makapag-enjoy yung iba. Kasi nga po, dahil hindi nasusulat, sila lang ang nakakaalam. So yun ang sinabi namin sa kanila na isulat ninyo kung ano yung process para kahit wala kayo, magagawa ang produkto. And also the production quality plan, the process work instruction, product coding, and product traceability. Tinuturo din po namin yan sa kanila. And the last one is the QSOP, which include the materials and product description and specification, the quality plan and monitoring program, materials and production inspection process and record, handling of non-conforming work, product recall, sample retention, and internal quality audit. So lahat po ito, i-guide po namin sila. Ito po yung under the new normal, ganito po yung nangyayari. Meron po kaming e-write shop na kung saan magbibigay po kami ng lecture, maikling lecture, ay guide namin sila. At kami rin po ang magse-serve as coach, i-coach po namin sila. Itong last experience namin, isi-share lang din namin per province. Ang ginawa po namin, may mga kanya-kanya kaming participant per province. Yung provincial office, sila po ang mag-guide, sila po ang magko-coach sa kanilang mga participants na nag-attend ng aming e-write shops. And after that, kami rin po ang magmo-monitor kung na-implement nila yung isinulat nila. And afterwards, we will conduct mock audit. At from there, magre-recommend po kami kung ano pa po yung mga dapat nilang gawing intervention, correction dun sa mga ginawa nilang mga manuals. Our modules consist of short lecture, write shop, review and approval, and compilation. Nung pong mga nakaraan na kinonduct namin ang mga write shops namin, wala pa pong pandemic so maganda ang output namin kasi po after the write shop, meron na po silang may uwing mga manuals. So after the write shop po, mapo-formulate na po nila ang kanilang mga policies. They will prepare their own programs and they will write their work instructions. Sa ngayon po, ito yung mga challenges na na-encounter namin, lalo na po ngayong pandemic kasi kinoconduct po namin virtually, So nagle-lecture kami, Kung minsan yung pong mga participants namin nawawala ang kanilang internet connection. Minsan naman po kami mismo ang nawawala ng internet connection. Hindi po namin ganun ma-gauge yung commitment nila kasi hindi naman po namin sila nakikita. Hindi po namin na-check, no? Literally, yung mga ginagawa nilang mga manuals, no? Yung mga modules kung natatapos nga po nila. And third, ready na nga po talaga sila dito sa ride shop na binibigay namin. How serious, no? How serious are they in implementing it? Yung iba po, pagkatapos nilang mag-attend, sasabi nila sa amin, hindi pa kami ready mag-implement, saka na lang po. No? So parang sayang naman, no? Yung effort ng DOST. Although, hindi po kami sumusuko kasi sigurado babalik at babalik sila sa amin. Dahil kailangan nilang gawin, tapusin ang kanilang mga manuals and they have to implement it, practice it in their respective companies. The CLFST also conduct product and process improvement, assistance, technical consultancy, food preservation and additives, mga seminars po yan na pwede namin ibigay sa kanila. Also seminar on halal and certificate of product registration, yun nga pong CFRR. Napakarami na po ngayon ng clamor, no, ng mga kliyente natin na aside from FDA registration, the LTO, marami na po ang humihingi sa amin ng tulong on how to obtain, how to acquire their CFRR. Kasi magsasabi po sila sa amin, i-message po nila kami na tinawagan daw po sila ni FDA or minessage sila ng FDA na dapat ay mag-register, magpa-CFRR kasi yung product nila ay nakita na hindi registered. So takot nakatapo sila, no? Pag gano'n na nakaka-receive po sila ng notice from FDA. At katulad po ng sinabi ko kanina, nalilipat po sa amin yung burden. Talagang asang-asa po sila, no? Natutulungan namin sila para makapag-comply po sila sa FDA requirements. Aside from this assistance to WMEs, yung pong aming mga regular programs, nandyan po si Setup, tulad po ni si Isabel, no, kanina na nagsabi ay twice na silang nakapag-avail ng Setup assistance. Congratulations, Ms. Isabel, for trusting the OST. Kapag po meron ng 3 years in existence ang isang company, meron po siyang DTI registration, may mayor's permit, basta po all legal documents ay meron sila, pwede na po, qualify na po silang mag-avail ng aming setup assistance. It is technical assistance on the acquisition of equipment. Equipment lang po ang pwede namin ibigay, and also trainings kung kailangan po ninyo, consultancy. Hindi po kami pwede sa building. Isa po yung kanina doon sa nagtanong, no? So sasagutin ko na po yung isang question kanina. Hindi po kami pwede sa mga infrastructure, hindi rin po kami pwede sa mga refrigerated van, hindi po kami pwede dyan, mga equipment lang po, no, for processing and production. We also have the MPEX program, the One Lab, and also the energy optimization system, no po, yung energy audit. Nakakapagbigay din po kami ng consultancy services on that matter. For 2019, we have assisted 31 micro entrepreneurs, no? Meron po kami continuing po 'yan for 2020, 27, no, micro entrepreneurs. O isa pong example si Ma'am Gloria from Bataan, na acquire po niya yung kanyang LTO, no, na tuwang-tuwa po siya at nakuha na po niya yung kanyang license to operate. We also have clients from Aurora and Nueva Ecija. No, yan po, hawak-hawak nila yung kanilang mga manuals, no, na nagawa. Also from Bataan and Zambales. Yan, mga example po yan na katunayan na talagang dala na nila, may uwi po nila, no, yung kanilang mga manuals. Yan po sana yung mas gusto namin para may assurance kami na na-appreciate nila, nagawa nila, naisulat nila yung mga practices nila. Unlike sa yung year na to, no, na may pandemic, hindi po namin sila natututukan. Yun po yung hinayang kami kasi sana no na gawa namin yung one-on-one tutoring, mentoring sa kanila para hindi po sana nasayang yung panahon. Pero sabi nga po, no, hindi naman po kami susuko, tuloy-tuloy po yan. At babalik sila sa DOST at tutulungan po namin ulit sila. And for Bulacan, yan po yung aming mga naging participants. Not only the WMEs under the WE program, we also invited other WMEs na interesado po, no, to attend our ride shops. We also have participants from Pampanga and Tarlac. Ayan po. Ganyan po yung nangyari sa aming mga last seminar, no. It's a virtual seminar na marami naman pong nag-attend. Hindi naman po kami na zero diyan. Marami pong nag-attend within the region. Kaya lang yun nga po, no, mas maganda nga po sana kung na-conduct namin siya face to face para mas mag-gauge namin, no, yung tulong namin kung talagang nasundan nila, nagawa nila, or na-apply na nila. So, yun po. For Aurora, we have 3 WMEs no po, na nag-participate sa aming mga ride shop. Bataan, 2 po. Bulacan, 4. Sa Bulacan, lahat po yan may LTO na sila. Nueva Ecija, sa Nueva Ecija po, 2 ang may LTO na. Pampanga, 8 po ang may LTO na sa kanila. Tarlac ay 3. At meron pong isa sa Zambales. So kung may mga tanong po mamaya, no, during the open forum, welcome po kayo. At sasagutin po namin ang lahat ng mga inquiries ninyo regarding DOST assistance sa experience ng Region 3. Marami pong salamat.
Maraming salamat, Angie. Meron yatang gustong magpaampon na taga regions kung pwede daw ampunin. Okay. Okay, so we have Angie's story is that of a government agency helping women micro-entrepreneurs under the Great Women Project Phase 2 prepare actually the documents for the LTO application and eventually get the LTO. From Angie, now we will go to Gretchen, who I will refer to as a private sector, private sector consultant. So my government, my public sector, my private sector. So Gretchen Barredo, or Chen, is a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Biology from the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila and a master's degree in Food Safety Management from the Philippine Women's University. She has, ito para kung binibigay yung credentials ni Chen. She has also completed a diploma course in Food Safety Management from UP Diliman. In May 2020, she formalized her consultancy business and founded the Bright Start Business Consultancy Services located in Cavite. I got to know Gretchen through one of our panelists in webinar number 3, who is Arlette Alvarado. So para itong parang kuryente, mayroon magpakuryente sa akin kasi tuloy-tuloy yan. Okay? Her firm focuses on helping food and cosmetic manufacturers, particularly MSMEs, comply with existing local regulations, such as those imposed by FDA, DNR, and DTI, and to acquire certifications in CGMP, Halal, HACCP, ISO 9001 and 22,000 standards. Preparation for such compliance may include product development and standardization, process improvement, training, audit, and documentation. I give you now, Gretchen.
Good afternoon po, everyone. So, thank you po sa UPPAF Response Team for having me today. I hope gising pa yung bawat isa kasi nga ako na yung huli. So, very brief na lang yung aking sasabihin din today. So, let me share yung aking presentation. Ayan. Okay. So, very brief lang po na pakilala. So, yung Bright Start Business Consultancy Services is nag-start siya talaga recently lang. Bagong-bago lang this year lang noong May 29. Actually, before kasi talaga freelance consultant lang talaga yung ginagawa ko, which is parang ano din sa akin, blessing in disguise din. Kasi parang there's one friend, which is, yung ating kaninang nagsalita, si Miss Isabel, na talagang nangailangan na mag-aasikaso sa kanila ng kanilang license to operate. Way back 2015, nung kami ay nagsimula ng consultancy sa kanila. So parang personally, sila rin yung naging pilot na na company na in-assist din to acquire yung ating license to operate. Ayan. So, mga na yon, mga 5.5 years ago. Ayan. So, medyo kinakabahan ako. Ayan. So, medyo papakilala ko lang yung aming company. So, Bright Start Business Consultancy Services is a business consulting company dedicated to deliver cost-effective solutions and services tailor-fit to business needs of customers from private enterprises to government sector. So, i-share ko lang din yung naging experience namin before. Kasi ang Delphas Food Products, they started kasi as micro enterprise. So, alam naman natin pag MSMEs kasi very limited yung capability in terms of yung mga qualified na mga manpower, limited din yung mga resources. So, almost lahat before ng employees din nila is walang training in terms of food safety, GMP, HACCP. So talagang yung compliance doon sa regulation natin, which is yung license to operate initially, is hindi siya naging ganun kadali para sa kanila. Ayan. Limited din ng resources. No, makwento ko lang nga noong nag-start kami doon or nakauna akong nakapunta sa kanila, very manual pa yung pagluluto din. Nagagatong pa. So may kahoy pa yung ginagamit. Ayun. So hanggang sa na-improve siya, naging LPG, and ngayon machine operated pa. So thank you sa DOST. Ayan, kasi sila na set up program para makapag-acquire ng technology na ma-improve yung kanilang process. Ayan. So noon din walang procedure pa, existing policies or procedures, kaya kung ano yung gusto ng empleyadong gawin, kung may kanya-kanyang style ng pagluluto yung nangyayari. Ayan. So talagang yung quality control measures, process flow, even yung mga personnel noon, nagtuturoan pa, sino bang mag-check, sino magre-receive. Ayan. So lahat yan na ay the natural scenario na kinakaharap ng mga nagsisimulang kumpanya. So yun yung mga noong unang panahon. Ayan. So, kaya ang naging goal ng Bright Start Business Consultancy Services, which is ako nga before as a freelance consultant, is to assist them doon sa kanilang business. Like, yung case nga po ng Delphas, to comply with the regulations na later on, papakita ko sa inyo kung paano kami nagsimula, anong mga ginawa rin namin na transition from noong unang panahon at saka sa ngayon na. Ayan. So aside sa mga FDA compliance, ang Bright Start po ay together with may other consultant din. So meron din kaming IT consultant. So nag-a-assist din kami with ISO system and audits. So chine-check. Pero ano ngayon, parang 2 ISO standard pa lang yung kinikater namin, which is yung ISO 9001 Quality Management System and 22,000, which is the Food Safety Management System. Government regulatory compliance, tulad nga ng ating regulations sa FDA, DENR, and the rest pa ng later papakita ko din po. So meron tayong mga system training, project management, business analysis, business process review, system development and implementation. So ito naman is yung sa IT systems and program po na binabanggit ko sa inyo na hinahandle ng other consultant. Ayan. So ito yung mga assistance and services din po na tinutulungan din namin yung mga client. Like for DENR, yung compliance din with the CNC and ECC or yung Environmental Compliance Certificate, Certificate of Non-Coverage, tinutulungan din namin silang kung paano mag-apply din doon, since isa rin yung sa requirement ng ating good manufacturing practices is yung compliance natin with DENR. For FDA, ito yung magiging highlights din natin today. O dito iikot yung ating discussions, yung mga ginawa nga namin to acquire or to comply with the license to operate and yung sa mga CFRR, Certificate of Product Registration. So currently, ina-assist namin po yung sa mostly food products, food manufacturer, trader, distributor, and mga tolling, repacker activities, and cosmetics. Ayan. So meron din akong colleague helping me with the requirements for cosmetics naman. Ayan. So papakita ko sa inyo yung naging transition namin din ng DELFAS noon. So unang dating, medyo kukwento ko lang po, ang una po is ina-assess muna si company. So chine-check through plant audit. Ang guidelines namin dito is yung good manufacturing practices nga natin na inilabas din ni FDA, which is yung Administrative Order 153. So, chine-check si company kung compliance na siya doon sa requirements. So, kung ano yung mga areas pa that needs to be improved during the first phasing is talagang chine-check namin yan. Let's say, sa facility, ano yung mga kailangan na gawin. Kasi we have this certain requirements kasi na nandoon sa ating AO153, which is kailangan may requirements pagdating sa pinto, bintana, mga pader, ceiling, lahat ng nakikita sa loob ng production area is chine-check na natin kung compliant na ba yun. May screen, meron bang plastic curtain, ayan. So kung wala, yun yung mga nagiging challenge din sa ating MSMEs kasi kailangan ipaayos nila yung kanilang area. Yung plant facility nila, yung production area, kailangan is i-align nila doon sa ating requirements. Kasi pag hindi rin naman maa-aprobahan ng ating LTO. Okay, so yun na yung unang gastos. Kasi nga sabi nga ni Ms. Isabel, aside sa consultancy fee, yung facility na pinaayos din namin doon sa kanilang planta, talagang di rin talaga biro. So noon pa ang pinto nila talaga full glass eh. Ayan, inayos yung mga pinto, yung mga bintana rin, parang ang pader halos puro bintana din eh. Meron kasi tayong glass policy, so inayos din yun. Then not enough yung space for production. Nag-extend, inayos yung pader, inayos yung mga ilaw, pinalitan yun, at yung mga flooring sa inayos din. Kaya ang gastos talaga. Ayun. And then, aside doon sa facility is yung documentation. So tulad nga ng assistance na binibigay ng ating DOST sa pagdadraft ng mga policies and procedures, isa pa yun sa naging challenge ng mga MSMEs natin. So, Even ako, nung nag-aral ako ng aking bachelor's degree, hindi tinuro sa akin kung paano gumawa ng isang food safety manual. Ayan. So, kahit na noon, nag-attend din ako ng training, personally, hindi ko siya talaga magets. Unless na-experience ko siya through actual sa previous company na nagtatrabaho din po ako sa isang food manufacturing facility, doon ko lang talaga naunawaan at naintindihan kung paano ba talaga ang tamang pagsusulat na pagko-comply doon sa regulation. As we know, yung ating din kasing FDA administrative orders, ito personal ko rin personal experience na gusto kong i-share din sa inyo. Yung ating AO kasi very general. So, yung halimbawa sa policies natin, dapat easy to clean, smooth, non-absorbent. So, very general yung requirements, which is napakahirap i-interpret kung tayo ay common na tao lang na wala tayong training pagdating sa food safety at GMP. So, yun yung talagang, I think, naging challenge din di lang kay Miss Isabel, kundi sa iba ring mga companies na yung procedures, although may format doon na i-fill up, yung effective na procedures on how to ensure na yung product natin is magiging safe, okay, and magiging consistent and maayos yung quality niya, hindi readily available yung information. Kailangan talaga ng experience at saka deep knowledge kung paano yung procedures na i-implement natin o isusulat natin sa manual is effective. Okay? So, yun yung sa documentation, and aside from that, yung traceability system, which is isa rin sa mga requirements. So, may mga forms, checklist na ginagawa para masiguro na from receiving pa lang ng ating produkto is quality na-check na. So, nabanggit nga ng ating LGU, yung mga receiving or suppliers accreditation program para masiguro na from start pa lang ng ating production, okay, ano na talaga, nasiguro na natin na walang magiging possible na mga hazards doon sa ating produkto. Okay, so isa yon sa ginawa namin sa documentation and yung sa process flow. So dito naman, meron kasi tayong actually mga other standards pa. So we have these standards kung paano mag-apply ng LTO, but then paano maaprubahan yung product natin kung hindi naman siya compliant to specific regulation na. So we have these Philippine National Standards din ng mga specific products like yung mga ube halaya, meron niyang PNS, yung mga pickled na mga fruits and vegetables, meron din niyang PNS, yung kape, and mga other food products pa. So for list naman ng complete PNS, ayan, visit na lang natin yung website ng Bureau of Philippine Standards. So nandoon lahat ng products na merong PNS. So for that, ina-align natin yung product mismo. So hindi naman kasi porket gumawa tayo ng juice, okay na, juice na yan eh. So kailangan compliant din siya dun sa standard na yun, which is kung ano yung pH or ano yung mga microbial analysis or physicochemical properties na kailangan dun sa product is yun nga, ipapatest natin yun. So, at i-analyze doon sa product. So, yun ang isa pang gastos, yung product analysis natin for physicochemical and microbiological standard. Ayan. And aside doon, yung nutritional labeling din. So, another gastos naman yon na pinagdaanan ng ating mga nagko-comply sa food safety. Ayan. And maganda rin kasi talaga na isa pang gastos is at least sa small company natin is makapag-put up tayo ng ano lang din. Parang simple laboratory setup lang. So, kailangan natin ng pH para readily matest natin si product. Mag-i-invest din tayo ng mga equipment, laboratory tools and equipment. Kasi patest natin sa labas yung product, there is parang ano pa hindi agad-agad yung resulta. 2 weeks, 1 month bago makuha yung resulta, yung product natin nakasalang na. Hintayin ba yung 2 weeks or 1 month bago natin siya i-pack, di ba? So, good din na mag-invest din for simple laboratory testing. Ayan, so ayun yung mga naging ginawa namin, standardize yung product, i-document lahat yon. Yung process flow nilagyan ng quality control measures para throughout the process, walang magiging contamination or we come up with a product which is safe nga, walang mga hazards, biological, chemical, and physical hazards na maisasama doon, and consistent, shelf-stable, na at the end doon sa ating customers or consumers, wala siyang magiging problema. Ayan. And then, training. Ayan, yung next namin ginawa. Nagkaroon kami ng training. So, meron tayong mga prerequisites program. Kailangan ng empleyado may training sa food safety, GMP, HACCP, according dun sa ating guidelines din on the Unified Licensing Requirements, dapat may training ang mga tao. Maalam sila sa ginagawa nila para hindi sila magkakamali or masiguro nga na maayos yung kalalabasan ng ating produkto. And then implementation ng mga policies and procedures. So kinakascade po yan sa tao para hindi lang si management ang may alam, hindi lang si president, si GM. Okay, so dapat yun, pinapaalam din natin sa empleyado na ito na yung procedures natin, ito na yung cleaning, dapat bago magsimula, pre-operation muna. O during and after, linis na naman. Ayan. So, ini-implement yung mga policies and procedures na dinraft natin or ginawa natin. Okay? So, such time, ayan, so ang daming preliminary, ito yung step 1 to 3, ito yung mga preliminary steps na ginawa namin bago talaga kami nag-apply. Kasi ang target namin, ako personally, ang target ko, ang purpose ko din naman talaga is mapa-aprubahan sila sa LTO. So, license to operate, para ma-aprubahan, kailangan compliance tayo sa good manufacturing practices. So, lahat ng requirements na nakalagay doon, dapat ready na kami, then such time na nag-apply kami ng license to operate. Okay, so sa experience namin with Delphas, ang nangyari, apply kami, after 3 months or 4 months, doon pa lang kami in-inspect. After mga 90 days yun, 90 days. Doon pa lang kami na-inspect talaga. Sumagad kami sa 90 days kasi before talaga yun ang rule eh. So, in-inspect na kami ni FDA. So, inintay namin sila pumunta, chinek na kung compliant kami sa GMP. So, by God's grace naman, sa pagtsatsaga ng DELPA, sa dami ng gastos na ginawa rin nila, so, worth it naman daw kasi naaprubahan naman, which is yun naman yung goal natin. And ma-share ko lang, before ang product din kasi nagkakaroon din ng problema at the end user. So, before nung dumating ako sa kanila, may mga products din na sinusoli ni customer kasi nagmo-moist na si powder, o kaya may mga molds na. So, lahat yun ay na-target namin na ayusin. So, inayos si packaging material, nag-improve ng mga labels, and then in-improve yung process. Kasi mahabang storya kung anong nangyari noon eh. Pero in short, yung process noon mas na-improve na at nagkaroon na kasi nga ng step-by-step procedures from start hanggang sa distribution sa mga customers, nagkaroon na ng guidelines. So, na-lessen yung mga returns. Ewan ko ngayon, kung mamaya siguro sagutin ni Ma'am Isabel kung marami pa bang sinusoli si customer dahil sa mga substandard na product eh. But ang balita ko naman ngayon, medyo wala na. Compared before talaga na nagrereklamo si customer. Okay? So, na-aprubahan na kami ng LTO, such time nag-apply na kami for CPR. Ayan. So yung may mga other requirements din kami na kinumply kasi hindi naman basta-basta pwede i-apply for CPR. So may mga product analysis, kada produkto, and yung mandatory labeling requirements, kinumply din namin yun para maaprobahan naman yung CPR. Ayan. So ngayon, ano nga ba yung naging role ni consultant? Actually, personally talaga, pag may nakakausap ako na prospect clients, lagi ko sinasabi sa kanila na, ma'am, sir, kung kaya nyo po naman i-apply talaga, kung alam nyo yung requirements, maganda po talaga ma-i-apply nyo na po nang sa sarili nyo lang. Kasi ayoko rin naman kasi sila gagastos din for consultant. Kasi yung etong mga tong binanggit ko sa inyo, matrabaho kasi talaga siya. Madaming gagawin. So yung umpisa pa lang sinasabi ko na sa kanila may madaming gastos, kailangan talaga yung management, commitment, kasi kailangan ng dedicated employee para i-monitor lahat na ang food safety policy na i-implement nyo sa company is magawa. Hindi yung nakasulat lang, kundi sa reality, kung ano yung nakasulat, dapat ginagawa. Hindi yung pag merong audit, doon lang nagagawa. Okay? So yung mga checklist na ginagawa nila is makatotohanan o talagang ginagawa nila yon. Ayan. So, papasok yung role ni consultant kasi MSN is usually very limited nga. As na-share nga ni Ms. Bell, very limited kasi pagdating. Kasi kahit ako or kahit sino sa kanya-kanyang bahay, lahat yan nagninegosyo, nagluluto, nagpapak, or naggagawa ng produkto, binibenta sa market. So kahit sino pwedeng gumawa. But then, yung knowledge with regards doon sa requirements ng ating FDA is hindi lahat alam nila. Kaya doon papasok yung role ni consultant to guide them kung paano i-comply at ituro din sa kanila yung mga dapat ayusin at dapat i-consider. Ayan. So, ipapakita ko sa inyo yung mga other assistance pa na ginagawa namin. Ayan. So, may mga audit services kapag ka-initial. So, sa planta, chine-check na doon kung ano yung mga kailangan na ayusin sa area nila. And then, may sa procedure, traceability system, chine-check na rin yun kung ano na yung current standing ng company. Ayan. Pati yung plant facility, inaayos yung process flow kasi dapat walang cross-contamination. So, nililayout, depende kung ano yung product nyo. So, dapat lang yun, one-way flow lang, walang magiging cross-contamination. Saan ang entrance ng empleyado, saan ang receiving, saan ang dispatching, and doon mismo sa production process flow ninyo, is chine-check kung walang cross-contamination. And then, ginaguide din natin sila sa documentation. Ayan. So, ito yung mga dapat na procedures policy, yung mga nabanggit nga ni Ma'am sa DOST natin kanina. So, yung lahat ng mga procedures na yun is dinadraft yun. Ayan. And ang pinakamahalaga lang naman sa documentation na gagawin sa mga policies and procedures is dapat yun ay effective para sa inyo. Kasi it varies per product and per company. Iba-iba. Dapat lang masiguro natin na effective yun. Ayan. Then may mga hands-on workshops din. Ayan. Sa documentation and during training. Mga writing workshops. Ayan. So, ito yung mga ilan sa mga trainings na na-conduct na din. Ayan. Pero most of the topics are patungkol din sa food safety, GMP, HACCP, pest control, mga 5S, ayan, and ISO, HACCP, ayan, and the rest pa. Then recently, new normal na. Ayan, so may mga webinars din kami na kinonduct Actually, hindi personal ni Bright Start business yon. So, nai-invite din tayo ng ating mga partner government agencies like yung DTI, Pisiledo, yan. So, para mag-talk din sa kanila and other private agencies. Ayan. So, meron ding product consultation services. Ito yung product ko, ma'am. Anong lasa? Anong pwedeng i-improve? Ano ba yung standard sa product ko na dapat i-comply? Ayan. So, merong mga consultation services para malaman lang initially kung ano yung need ng product for improvement. So, may mga product development services din kasi kailangan nga i-align natin siya sa Philippine National Standard. Ayan, ano ba yung procedures pagdating sa meat processing? Ayan, so andito yung Del Pastor Mary, ayan. So, and other products pa. And process improvement. So kung manual, mag-a-adapt ng machine para mas mapabilis yung procedure. Ang machine kasi syempre less handling ng tao. So less handling ng tao, less contamination. But then, meron din mga requirements for equipment doon sa ating GMP guidelines na kailangan din natin siyang i-comply o i-consider when purchasing yung mga machineries na ito. Ayan. So ito yung mga naging clients na po ng ako personally kasi si Bright Start nga bago lang. So DOST. So for documentation, na-invite na rin po ako ni DOST Region 2 for ISO documentation naman sa region Cagayan, Isabela and Tugigaraw. Ayan. So may projects din training for DAR, DTI, yung OTOP and the rest pa. Ito po yung mga naging clients din po, private. Ayan, so nandyan po unang-una yung Delpas. Ayan, and the rest pa ng mga companies. Ayan. So dito na po nagtatapos yung aking presentation. Thank you very much po ulit sa bawat isa and I hope marami po tayong natutunan today kasi po ako personally, marami rin po ako natutunan sa ating mga other speakers. So, lalong-lalo na po kay sa ating kay Dr. Oscar. Ayan, sa ating FDA. Thank you po.
Thank you very much, Gretchen. Now, as usual, the webinar has gone over time. But there are so many questions that people have raised already when they registered and a few questions that were raised either in the chat box or in the Q&A box. But before going to that, I would like to ask the panelists what they think, how the streamlined FDA processes for licensing and CPR, how this could help women owners and operators of micro and small enterprises. What's your take? Oscar probably will be the most logical person to answer it, and then the other panelists can jump in.
Oh, ma'am, yes, I would like to thank all the panelists din. After me, I was intently listening, and I think some of your experiences that you shared can help the FDA policy service in crafting future policies. And having said that, the FDA will continue to streamline its systems and actually re-engineer the applications for an approval for licenses and CPR. So I think during my presentation, I have expressed the intention of the FDA not only to comply with the ease of doing business, but actually help MSMEs by rationalizing or simplifying our requirements. So as you can see for the LTO, for example, we only have 3 requirements actually. And for non-manufacturers, actually, the the inspection will be done after we issue the LTO. The challenge is for the manufacturer. They will only have also similar requirements, around 3 or 4 documents to submit. But the challenge is we can only issue the LTO after they have passed the inspection. Yeah. So along the way, as Ms. Gretchen has shown, there can be corrective actions. There can be findings on the side of the FDA that the company or the applicant needs to comply. I mean, institute corrective action along the way. So although we said the Citizens Charter is only, we commit 20 working days, but there will be some stop clock along the way. This is one of the reasons why we have to consult with our field regulatory officers, our field food inspectors. We are discussing how we will handle should there be any findings or corrective actions that the establishment or manufacturer has to attend to before we continue with our inspection or re-inspection. That's all. Thank you, po.
Yes, anyone would like to respond to that? One of the changes instituted by DOH in May 2020. I just forgot what the MC number was. Remember what the department order was that an entrepreneur can now apply directly, not through before, because I think before only a KPIRA, only a qualified person in regulatory affairs could transact business with FDA.
Ma'am, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I can have the opportunity to really explain this. You know, the FDA, the DOH actually issued Administrative Order 2020-0017 on revised guidelines on unified licensing requirements and procedures of FDA. We did away with the QPIRA trading. So that's why after listening to Ma'am Gretchen, I said she actually hit the head of the nail when she said, in order to apply for a license to operate with the FDA as manufacturer, you really have to know the business inside out of a food manufacturing processor or manufacturer or processor. So that means if you read through our revised guidelines, we are requiring companies to hire qualified persons. So we defined what is a qualified person. They should be full-time employees of the manufacturer that has the right education, experience, and training on the operation of the business, regardless if it is a food, drug, cosmetics, or what, medical devices. So obviously for drugs, like for example, they will require a registered pharmacist and other professions in order to manufacture a product. But certainly, on top of the management should be the registered pharmacist as a liaison officer or regulatory officers. And obviously for food products, we need people who are qualified, like food technologists or a nutritionist, anybody who has a background, education, training, and all of that. So the QPIRA training or certification will no longer be required by the FDA. All we did, the company to submit is a qualified person. During inspection, the inspector will like to meet. So as defined in the AO, the qualified person should be there during the inspection. So that qualified person will be answering for the technical part of the inspection. So hindi na po requirement ang QPIRA certificate in order to get an LTO. Hindi na rin po requirement ang QPIRA for companies to hire qualified persons. We simplified it po. Salamat po.
Ang ano yata is Gretchen, do you have anything to say to that, or Angie? Kasi ang ano doon is pwedeng mabuti kung malaki-laki yung enterprise, pero pag maliit, I think that will be so the question probably is for an entrepreneur is, do I have the funds to hire a highly specialized person?
Ma'am, okay po, this is the answer. You read through the definition of terms. The qualified person can also be the owner po eh.
Yes, oo nga.
Oh, so why hire? If you are small and you want to run your business, then you have to get the proper training. So this is what we did. This is what we're going to do with the FDA. Our FDA Academy will focus on topics given when we conduct QPIRA training. So we will break it down. The FDA Academy will continue with their training on a voluntary basis for a fee, and some will be free. Last week we did a webinar for drug outlets. It's for free. So those who want to put up drug outlets, they were able to attend 100 of them, and we will schedule 4 more, covering 5 more, covering the 5 clusters all over the Philippines. So what I'm saying, ma'am, is the qualified person, whether an owner or somebody hired by the company, can train themselves, apply for training, and if FDA has a scheduled training on it, they can always enlist. That is how we will do it through the webinar. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Oscar. I think we have to be very clear that your streamlining efforts now are just being piloted and they're not available everywhere. Tama ba?
That is correct. The version 2 that I mentioned, it's part of the issuance. It will only cover the NCR for the version 2. It's not for everybody. But if the pilot, we will do some tweaking with the system. So the system is developed by the PPS, so the ICT division of PPS. Then we collaborated with the center to review our system, and they said they would like to have it piloted. So we need feedback from the Center for Food if they are happy with our system, and the clients applying are also being served properly as intended with our online system, the ECPR version 2. So maybe 2 months or 3 months from now, we can get some data on we can get some feedback from the Center for Food Regulation Research.
Yeah. So I think baka kasi yung mga nakikinig na tagalabas ng NCR, pwede nga ba magsasalita ka? For them, it might be, fake news yan kasi hindi pa yan. At tagal-tagal pa rin. 180 days
Opo, ma'am. Yung presentation po, when she said that they got their LTO in
180 days.
No, wait po. Yung 60, yung nag-present kanina,
Isabel.
Isabel.
Okay.
She said they got their license in 60 days. Actually, that is very accurate. You know why? From 114 days, since last year, we really tried our best without the fully automated online system to process the application. And we were able to bring it down to 60. And we're happy about that. but our target is really 20 working days. Hopefully by next year we can be in, we can hit 20 working days. So when I said in my presentation that these are the pending application within the timeline I was the timeline is actually not 20 working days. It's around 30 to 60 days. So because we are still, you remember the ARTA issuance says we have 1 year to attend to our backlog. So from 114, we tried working within 30 to 60 days. That is the realistic, considering we have only 37 plantilla positions in the Center for Food. That includes already the chief, the director, and the supervisors, so, and the administrative support and the clerk. So meaning our evaluators would number less than 20. So we hired the 27 contract of service to help out. So we have 7 vacant position, and those who want to apply for FDA, you just look at see our website if there is opening. Anyway, the point, ma'am, is hiring of additional personnel is a big challenge in government. You have to get the approval of DBM. It's actually a legislated activity or exercise. So we are trying to go fully automation, meaning all documents will be read online, meaning the evaluator can work at home and they can just click yes, no, approve, disapprove. Then if disapprove, they have to explain. Then it goes after, when they click approve as an evaluator, it goes directly to the supervisor. Then she opens the same application, then she reads through the evaluation done, then it goes to the director finally. So these are automatic system, and if the evaluator or supervisor fail to act on the application, it automatically forwards to the next step. That is how we would like to envision the system. That's why we did a pilot system. I don't know what will be the final version after we receive feedback from the CFRR, but that is the idea.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, I think this question will be for you and Eric. Making the production facilities, the work site, fully food safety regulation compliant can take millions because it's actually the plant. But in securing the LTO and the CPR outside the changes that have to be made in the production sites, how much does it cost to apply for the LTO, to apply for the CPR?
Would the LG, si Eric na po muna.
Eric, Eric, magkano ba yung ibabayad nila para makakuha ng sanitary permit? Magkano yung kanilang gagastusin?
Ay ma'am, sa sanitary permit ma'am, kasama na kasi sa business permit yung inspection fee, that is 600 pesos only. Tapos, ang gagastin lang nila, ma'am, yung mga medical ng tao.
Ayun, okay.
Wala na po iba.
So the permit itself, application for the permit, that's 600. It is included in the BPLSP.
Yes po.
Ang ano lang dyan is how you're complying.
Yes po.
Sa mga requirements.
Opo.
Kaya para yung production site mo compliant, then you can spend so much. Pero yung mismong cost doon sa process ay hindi naman malaki.
Wala na po ma'am. Yun lang po ang babayaran.
So yun lang pupunta sa LGU.
Yes.
Yun lang pupunta sa LGU directly as revenue.
Hindi, as a revenue for the sanitary permit office, kasi meron pang health certificate fee na 70 pesos
Tama. Oh.
included in the business permit also.
Oo. So yun. All in.
Yes
All
po,
in
plus
yun.
100.
Yes. Thank you very much, Eric. Sa ano naman, nasaan si Oscar? Sa
Ito po.
FDA,
Ito po,
magkano
ganito
naman
po.
yung ano? Magkano naman yung...
Maybe before I answer, maybe let me just state that in my presentation, I said you can market your product within the territorial jurisdiction issued by the LGU. If you have no intention naman po of marketing nationally or internationally or for export, you may not get an LTO kasi pwede mo nang yung CPR, you can market. Pero for the fee, for the FDA LTO fee, it ranges from 1,000 or less than $1 million capitalization to 15,000 pesos per application. That will cover everything po. So that will cover everything. Administrative and the inspection to be conducted. And yes, that's how cheap it is to apply for a license to operate. Opo.
So, any comments from Isabel, Gretchen, and Angie? Kasi maraming backroom costs bago makarating yung mga dokumento sa inyo. Marami yung mga cost to the entrepreneur. Kung setup, kung DOST, mababawasan, pero pag yung private na consultant, di ba Isabel, ganun yun ay may ano yun, pero tutok na tutok yun sa iyo.
Yes po. Tsaka po, gaya po sabi ni Sir Oscar kanina, so kumbaga i-assess din po natin kung ano yung ating target market. Kung within territorial lang po, yun nga, no need. Pero if we see na may potential, we wanna go outside, lalo country, so that's the time po talaga na we need to comply with FDA regulation. And at the same time po, as entrepreneur po, para po safe tayo in the future, wala mga pagsasara ng negosyo. Siyempre po, pagkain po ang ibebenta natin, wala pong demanda. So, make sure na rin po na mag-comply tayo. This is for our safety na rin po. Long-term objective para sa company. So, if we if we want to go big, so we plan ahead po and then mag-comply kung anong kailangang i-comply para wala po tayong maging problema.
Thank you very much, Isabel. It's 4:37. I'm sorry, but I have to close this webinar. There are a lot more questions, but just as a way of synthesizing the discussion, a number of issues or problems have been cited by especially Isabel and Gretchen, and to a certain extent Angie. Lack of information and technical requirements, and these have also been raised in the chat box and in the comments that we got when some of the people registered for the webinar. So, and the requirements and processes were never explained or clarified, or were seldom, not naman never, were seldom explained and clarified. I think from the point of view of FDA, kung tumatawag sila sa FDA, sino ba yung sumasagot? At ano yung binibigay na information? Pag pupunta naman sila sa FDA website, sabi ko na nga kay Oscar, ang problema, ang bagal bago mag-load. So I think you'll have to check the connectivity. There might be connectivity problems with at the FDA. Yung ano yan. Kasi sabi nga isa ay naubusan na yung load niya sa smartphone niya, hindi pa rin siya nakaka-connect sa FDA. Then another challenge is lack of financing for the process. But as Isabella said, if you think long-term, and you think also of wider market, then it might be worth to invest on it, on securing that, to make sure that you have that your products are food safe. Okay? Tapos lack of technical knowledge to fulfill or complete requirements. Buti na lang merong DOST na pwedeng puntahan, may DTI na pwedeng puntahan, at merong gaya ni Gretchen na pwedeng puntahan sa private sector. Lalo na doon sa areas na hindi masyadong alam yung mga kunyari yung setup o yung hindi covered ng Great Women Project. Tapos the high cost of making the facility GMP compliant or FDA compliant. So yun yung tapos I think what we're seeing now from the discussion is there have been efforts by the FDA to shorten the process, kasi the shorter the process, the shorter will be the waiting time for the entrepreneur to be able to market the product.
May I lang, isa lang po. Yung kasi, huwag natin kalimutan, the pre-assessment is very important. The 20 working days will only start when they have passed the pre-assessment, meaning that is under the Ease of Doing Business law and IRR. Once the FDA accepts the documents, that means more or less the documents have been pre-evaluated as complete. So this is very important po. So I advise really the applicant to double check all their documents that they are correct and complete and correct. Salamat po.
Okay. Angie, you want to say something?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sir Oscar, no, dun po sa mga inputs niyo. Marami pong matutuwang mga WMAs, no, dun sa sinabi niyo. Actually, may mga kliyente po kami na nagte-testify, no, talagang lumuwag po yung mga yung mga procedures ni FDA, na tuwang-tuwa po sila at nakakuha po sila ng kanilang LTO, no, at hindi po sila nahirapan. And of course, kasama rin po ang DOST, no, dun sa kanilang katuwaan, kasi yung tulong namin ay nakikita po namin na nagiging makabuluhan, kasi yung mga tinutulungan namin ay nakaka-secure po ng LTO. And hindi po kami hihinto, hindi po kami titigil, no, sa aming trabaho. Natutulungan po namin ang mga WMEs na makasecure po ng kanilang LTO and CFRR. At nakalimutan ko po palang sa mabanggit kanina, sa DOST Region 3 po, ay binibigyan po namin ng 20% discount ang mga WME sa kanilang laboratory analysis.
Thank you very much for mentioning that. Kasi isa rin yung kalaki. Ang yata pa niyaan is, ang question yata para sa DOST, yun ay nangyayari doon sa Great Women Project areas.
Yes,
now, is there an effort at the central office to make that kind of assistance available even in non-Great Women Project areas?
Hindi, alam ko ma'am, meron din pong effort ng other DOST regional offices, no, sa pagtulong po sa kanilang mga WMs, particularly with our Great Women beneficiaries. Hindi po sila maiiwanan, ma'am. Tutulong po ang DOST sa kanila.
Yeah. Ang isa yatang magandang point dito ay yung kaysa inyo kunyari, yung subsidy sa laboratory ay china-charge ninyo sa God budget ninyo, tama ba? Yung
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I am raising that because sometimes it's a question people ask. What do they put in the God budget? Okay, in the gender development budget. I think it's one very good way of doing it. And so my question is, mayroon na ba policy sa DOST encouraging other regions to do that too?
Pwede naman po namin ma'am i-elevate, no? Mas actually ma'am maganda po 'yon. And meron na po mga previous agreement with that. Hindi nga lang po na tuloy-tuloy. Actually, ito pong our capacity as the CLFST ay meron po sana kaming plano na mag-conduct ng mga trainings to other regional offices. Isi-share po namin yung knowledge namin sa kanila. Ini-schedule na nga po sana namin noon before the pandemic, kaya lang nagka-pandemic. Although hindi po namin inaangkin, we don't yung glory, no, hindi po. We are nauna nga lang po siguro ang Region 3, no, na mag-implement nito, and we are more than willing to share with our colleagues with our in other regional offices po ng DOST. At alam ko po marami pong mas magagaling pa sa kanila.
Yeah, okay. So, maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.
Thank you so
my
much
friends.
po. Salamat din po.
Gretchen, Isabel, Eric, and Oscar for sharing your time with us. Now I will turn the floor over to, let me see, we need to flash your certificates. We have e-certificate for the different panelists. Okay, I will read only one certificate because it applies to all. Okay, this certificate is hereby presented to the 5 of you, each of you, for imparting valuable insights as panelists in the WGDP webinar series on women's economic empowerment, number 4, streamlining FDA requirements and procedures for processed food products, held on November 27, 2020, signed by our Chief of Party, Henry Basilio. So we have one for Oscar, we have another for Angie, then another for Eric, for Isabel, and for Gretchen. I think the staff will have, okay, announcements. Take it over. Take over.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Lee. Yes, for our first announcement.
Yes, Muriel, we can't hear you.
Hello? Yes. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So for our first announcement, can we go to the next slide, please? We will have our next webinar, the 5th in the series. It will be held next year on January 29, 2021, and it will be entitled Protecting Women Under Alternative Work Arrangements. So we'll see you then. Now for our second announcement. So again, please help us improve our webinars by answering our survey. The link will be shared to you after the webinar, and we are now also posting it on the chat box. So thank you. Back to you again, Ms. June.
Yeah, at this point, I already thanked the members of the panel. I would like to thank the young ladies behind what I call my backroom support: Muriel Damsani, Hasmin Montenegro, Jobel Alsate, and Kirima Bagas. But I also want to thank people who connected me to the members of the panel. To Emma Mijares for giving me the contact for Oscar. And also for Arlette Alvarado for connecting me with Gretchen, and Gretchen herself for connecting me to Isabel, and Joby Mendoza for connecting me to Eric. To Joby, to Joji, of course, for connecting me to Angie. Okay, to everyone, have a good day and thank you very much. Bye. Bye.
Thank you po.
Sige, Isabel. Sige,